Fazman and Crusades are going to Belgium, and we want to get straight into this one because the way it happened is kind of ridiculous. Zog and Goofy missed out by 13 points, and 13 points is the exact difference between first and third in a single game. They finished third in game number 6. If they win that game, they qualify. There's also a team that scored 4 points across 5 games and then dropped a 12 elimination win in the last game to completely change who was going to globals. And unfortunately, this is also the end of one of the largest LAN streaks in Oceania. There's a lot to talk about here, so let's just jump into it. So, quick reset in case you're not fully across this one, because Fortnite did a genuinely terrible job of explaining this whole tournament. This is the Global Championship Last Chance. 2 separate qualifiers, 3 rounds each, and in the 50 teams that got through play 1 set lobby final. 6 games, 65 points for a win, 4 points in elimination, exactly the same scoring format as finals, and on OCE there was 1 ticket. 1. Europe got 3, NA Central got 2, every single other region including us got a single team through to Belgium. Now, teams that were already qualified from Major 2 were allowed to play this, so the spot could have rolled down if one of them finished at the top. But spoiler, it doesn't matter in the end because it's worth knowing before you look at the leaderboard. 1 team out of 50, 6 games. That's the whole tournament. So let's talk about Fazman and Crusades, because we don't think people outside of OCE realize how long this has been coming. This is not a new duo. These two have been running it together for a while now, and they have been so close, so many times. 6th in Grand Finals, 2nd and 3rd in Esports World Cup Finals. In Major 1 Grands, they were 2nd overall after day 1 and finished 4th overall. That is a team that has been in the room, in position at the business end of basically every major tournament this region has run, and kept not quite getting it. 4th, 3rd, 2nd, and 6th. And in the tournament that actually decides who goes to Belgium, they followed the script perfectly for 6 games straight. And they finally got the one thing that matters. Now, here's the stat that everyone is going to lead with, and we want to push back on how people are framing it. They won this tournament without a single victory royale. 372 points and 0 wins. And we've already seen people going, oh, they just placed. They never won a game. It's a boring win. That's not what happened. Let's look at the damage. Game 1, they do 3,120 damage. Game 2, 3,397. Game 3, 3,190. Game 4, 3,819. That is the top of the lobby for the first 4 games of this tournament. They were beating the entire lobby up, and their placement across those 4 games were a 7th, a 3rd, a 4th, and a 2nd. They were fighting and placing. Then look at games 5 and 6. 868 damage. 1,276. It falls off a cliff. That's not a team that got worse. That's a team that took the lead in game 4 and completely changed how they were playing to protect it. They stopped taking fights. They stopped forcing damage. And they just made sure they finished. A 1 elim 3rd and a 6 elim 7th to close it out. And if you track where they were on the leaderboard game by game, it's 7th, 4th, 3rd, 1st, 1st, and 1st. They took the lead in game 4 and they never gave it back across all 6 games. They were never once outside of the top 7. Not once. Placements of 7th, 3rd, 4th, 2nd, 3rd, 7th. And the other thing we noticed going back through this is that they did not play it like a POI team at all. They marked a spot on the west side of the map, on their own, uncontested, and they basically never sat still. Game 1 and 4, they're in that same area. Game 2 and 3, they've shifted, and by game 6, they've landed bottom left, nowhere near where they started. And that's deliberate. They were moving to avoid getting griefed. Once you take the lead in a tournament like this, with 1 spot on the line, every team below you has a reason to come and find you. So instead of sitting on a mark drop where everybody knows exactly where to go and key them, they just kept relocating. No one could plan for them. That's a really smart read on the situation, and that's a huge part of why it went the way it did. This is a very deserved qualification, and we're really happy for them. Now for the part that's gonna hurt. And we've had a lot of people messaging us about this one. Zog and Goofy finished on 359 points, 13 points off Belgium. And we need you to understand exactly how 13 points happened, because it's brutal. 3rd place is 52 points. 1st place is 65 points. The difference is 13. In game number 6, Zog and Goofy got 8 eliminations and finished 3rd. If they win that game with an exact same 8 elims, they finish on 372, which is a tie. And the first tiebreaker in this format is Summer Victory Royales. They would have had 2. Fazman and Crusades had 0. So they don't just tie, they qualify. They go to Belgium. 2 placements in the last game. That's it. And what makes it worse is they were the better fighting team all night. And they were doing it while sharing their loot. If you look at the drop map, Zog and Goofy were splitting their drop with Spooks and Damo, who finished in 5th. Top of the 2 teams in the tournament that came out of the same drop, 31 eliminations to Fazman and Crusades 22. Game 3, they get an 8 elim 6th. Game 5, they get an 8 elim win, which is the game that put them right back in this. Game 6, another 8 elims. When this team was on, they were the scariest duo in the lobby. The game that actually did this though is game 4, a 1 elim 21st, 614 damage. And that's the game where Fazman and Crusades got a 4 elim 2nd, and they took that lead for good. Going into that game, they were within touching distance. Coming out of it, they were 76 points back. They then dragged that all the way down to 13. That's an unbelievable comeback that just ran out of games. We know some of you are going to want to blame them for that game 6. Don't. They got an 8 elim in the final game of the tournament with their global spot on the line. They did their job. It just needed to be a win, and that leads perfectly into the most ridiculous thing that happened all night. So who actually won game 6? That's Zeph and Dang. And we want you to look at this match history because between us, we've been watching the scene for a long time and we're not sure if we've seen one quite like it. Game 1, 1 elim, 35th, 4 points. Game 2, 48th, 0 points. Game 3, 49 to 0. Game 4, 49, 0. Game 5, 46, 0. 4 points in 5 games. They were essentially last in the tournament with 1 game to go. Game 6, 12 eliminations and a win. A 113 point game. And this is where it genuinely gets mad because this connects to everything else. If you go back in the drop map, Zephot and Dang did not even mark anywhere near Alex and Reckless. They marked up northwest, contested with Vexo and Clayrix. That's where they land in game 1, and that's where the 35th comes from. Then from game 2 onwards, they leave, and they go all the way across the map and land on Alex and Reckless instead. Games 2, 3, 4, and 5, and they lose it every single time, which is exactly why they were posting 0s. They just kept getting run over off spawn. So this is the team that gave up their own mark drop, went and picked a fight with the best duo in the lobby, and got nothing out of it for 4 games straight. And then in game 6, Alex and Reckless leave. They didn't go to the complete opposite side of the map, which means for the first time in all tournament, Zephon and Dang have that entire side of the map to themselves. No Alex, no contest, and immediately drop a 12 elim win. So the team that has been losing the fight all night finally gets the POI to themselves, wins the game, and in doing that, takes the win away from Zog and Goofy, which is the exact thing that cost Zog and Goofy their global spot. We don't think anyone planned any of that. That's just Fortnite. But it is one of the cleanest examples we've seen of how much one drop decision in one game can decide an entire region's qualification. Which brings us to Alex, and this is the one we're actually sad about. Alex has made every LAN. 2022 FNCS Invitational, 2023 Globals, 2024 Globals, 2025 Globals, and in Summit this year, which he qualified through Major 1. The only one he's missed is going all the way back to the World Cup, which is fair enough. That's a completely different era of this game. Also, he wasn't old enough, but that's a separate thing. He missed out on Globals of Summit. This was the backup. This was the last one, and now he has fully missed out on the 2026 Globals. And what makes this rough is that he wasn't just in the mix, he was leading the tournament. Game 1, 5 elims, 11th. Game 2, a 9th elimination win, jumping him up to 2nd. Game 3, a 5th elim, 5th. And after Game 3, Alex and Reckless are in 1st, placing overall on 215 points. Halfway through the last tournament, that could get him to Belgium. He is the man to beat. Then, Game 4, 2 elims, 37th. They take 2,174 damage, and they're dead at 708 seconds. That's still 2nd overall though. Game 5, a 6 elim, 7th. Still 2nd, still very much alive. Game 6, they change drop. And this is the first time they've moved all tournament. They have held the same spot in the east for all 5 games before it. They go all the way across the west side of the map. And the reason is the exact same reason Fazman and Crusades were moving. They were 2nd going into the final game with the global spot on the line. and they knew they were going to get hunted if they land where everyone expected them to, so they ran. The difference is it worked for Fazman and Crusades, and it did not work for Alex and Reckless. Dead at 586 seconds. 0 eliminations, 36, 0 points. Nothing in that game decided it. They finished third on 285 points, which is 87 points off the qualification, and the scoreline does not reflect how close that actually was for 5.5 games. We really hope this isn't the end of it for Alex. This is genuinely an elite streak that just ended, and we don't think it's getting anywhere near the recognition it deserves. We also have to talk about Rezans and Tinker, because they might be the most chaotic team we've watched all year. 2 victory royales, and they're the only team in this lobby that got more than one. A 6 elim win in game number 1, and a 10 elim win in game number 4. They also finished with the most damage of anybody in the tournament, 18,158. They came 6th. Look at what happened in between. After that game 1 win, they're on 89 points and sitting 2nd. Game 2, a 0 elim 26, 0 points. Game 3, a 0 elim 39th, 0 points. And they were on 89 points after game 1, and they were still on 89 points after game 2. 2 consecutive games where they scored nothing at all. Then a 10 elim win in game 4, then a 7 elim 10th, then a 1 elim 30th to finish. This is the most all or nothing tournament you will ever see. And look, they already had this Globals ticket from Major 2, so there was no real pressure on them here. And you could argue that's exactly why they played like that. But it's a perfect contrast with the team that won this. Rezans and Tinker got 2 wins and finished 6th. Fazman and Crusades got 0 wins and won the whole tournament. The other run that we want to shout out is Mount and Robjet, because this might be the second most impressive tournament of the entire night and no one is talking about it. 14 eliminations in the entire tournament. That's the lowest of anyone in the top 10 by a distance, and they finished 4th on 274 points. Their positions game by game are 12th, 13th, 10th, 7th, 9th, 4th. They never led. They never won a single game. They didn't even get a single top 3 finish until the very last game, where they got a 4 elim 2nd, and then jumped from a 9th all the way to 4th. Whatever they're doing rotationally is working, because that is a team placing their way up an entire leaderboard on almost no fighting at all. Quickly through the rest. Spooks at Damo 5th on 266, and they were actually leading this after game 2, before it got away from them. Oatly and Gerald 7th on 252. Quixie and Sandjog 8th on 242, and a 9 elim 2nd in game 5. And that had them up to 6 before a 43rd in the last game. Adon and Minty 9th on 234 after an 11 elim 3rd in game 1. Vazen and Xavier 10th on 226. Gazer and Lucky Nada, and they won game 3 with 8 elims after being 37th game 1. Which again, this lobby was ridiculous. And Radiant Sputnik 12th on 192 with a 7 elim 2nd in game 3. Now, here's the thing we actually want to leave you with. 4 different teams led this tournament across 6 games. Rezans and Tinker after game 1, Spooks and Demo after game 2, Alex and Reckless after game 3, and then Fazman and Crusades after game 4 onwards. 6 different teams won the 6 games. Not one of them won 2, except Tinker and Rezans, who won 2 of them and still came 6th. And the team that won the whole thing never won a single one. We've seen a bit of people's chat saying this proves the format is broken, that a team shouldn't be able to win a Globals qualifier without a victory royale. We don't really agree. 6 games is enough that consistently should beat 1 big game. What do we have an issue with is 1 spot. 1 team out of 50. In a region this size, in the last chance anyone had, that is the actual problem. And that's why so many of these storylines end with somebody good just missing out. Quick one before we wrap it up, because there is no break for some of these guys at all. The OC boys are all flying out tomorrow for the Esports World Cup, or yesterday, or whenever this video goes out. Whatever makes sense. So Zog and Goofy lose a global spot by 13 points, and then they're going to sit on a plane the next morning with no time to sit on it, no time to watch it back, and that is a brutal 48 hours, and we hope they take it out on somebody over there. In-game, of course. And that's the effort CSCs have done for OC. However you feel about it, 1 spot, however you feel about the format, that finals delivered. And we've got 3 duos heading to Belgium off the back of it. Congrats again to Fazman and Crusades with the 6th, 4th, and 3rd and 2nd. And now, finally the one that actually sends them that has been a long time coming. And nobody in this region can say they haven't earned it. We'll be covering the Esports World Cup while the boys are over there. And then everything from there through Globals. So get subscribed if you want to keep across all OC stuff. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you in the next one. subscribe. And also with Oatly flying out, he loses his stream streak, which is also devastating.